So glad you are with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansen, Northern Alliance Financial, Lance Gilman, CEO, and Blake King joining us again. Gentlemen, it is always a pleasure to be back with you.
Where does the time go, Brad?
It just flies.
Yeah.
we can't keep it.
That's true.
We can't keep it. And so we talk about time advancing all the time here on this program. And it is moving into a spot where we say, should we be doing something different? Well, for a lot of us, we've been doing what we've been doing for 30, 40, some of us longer than that, years. And now we're moving into that idea of, can I stop doing what I've been doing and start doing what I want to do? And that is moving into a retirement. We're going to talk about refinancing your retirement today. And that may encompass a lot of different thoughts, Blake. Is there an initial concept when we say, why in the current economic environment should I be thinking about refinancing my retirement?
Refinancing your retirement ultimately is a very broad concept, right? You need to be able to first identify, are there any loans that you currently have out there that you maybe want to refi? Now, if you got loans in low interest rate environments, yeah, keep those loans at the low rates, but maybe say you got a rate at 7%, and we've seen the Fed start lowering rates. Maybe we can lower our interest rates on our mortgage payments, but refinance also comes in the scheme of income and cash flow, right? There are tools that we use for our clients that are interest rate based. And let's just say you got this solution that was given to you in 2017, 18, or 19, and it's an interest rate focused type of account.
Okay.
Well, we are in now a much higher interest rate environment, and those things move in tandem with interest rates, right? So if I can actually refi my cash flow from one cash flow solution to a new cash flow solution at a higher payment rate, that tends to make a lot of sense because it essentially is better than what you had in the past. And all you have to do is just go through a simple transfer process. So refinancing on the retirement side, instead of lowering your payments like you do with traditional refinances, we have the opportunity to refinance you into a higher guaranteed payment.
So in moving into, are solutions better when we have seen some higher interest rates environments, Lance?
Solutions? Absolutely. Because it's all about looking at the numbers and the cash flow, right? So let's say you had a guaranteed interest rate of, for many years, there was a custodian that was offering a guaranteed interest rate of 4.5%. Well, that seems pretty good if you look at the last administration phase of interest rates when inflation kind of went through the roof and hit like a 9% high point. And what happens is over time, the Fed start raising interest rates, the fixed interest rates, to kind of match the inflationary rates. Well, they got to a point where they were like almost 6%, Brad.
Yeah.
Well, if you can go from 4 to 6%, you just gained 150% more income. Mm-hmm. We talk about refinancing your retirement. It's like getting a tune-up to your car. I mean, how often do you get a tune-up to your car? Well, probably once a year or so. It's the same thing when you look at your finances, except they're even more critical than your car.
So in putting together this refinance, we go back to a plan. How do I come to you and say, you know what, you've talked about these rates. How do I actually go through what I have right now and start making it better? Because the idea is to make it better. If I want my car to run better a year later, then I'm going to do whatever it takes. If there are better solutions, how does this plan come together as I come into you to talk to you about refinancing my retirement?
So when individuals come into our office, they typically come with a lot of statements. And it's important that when you come in, it's just not a screenshot, because a screenshot only tells so much information, right? We would actually like to see formal documents or statements so that we can essentially take a look under the hood. And once we take a look under the hood, we can identify, all right, well, here's what your cash payment's going to be at age 65. Is that going to suffice? And yes, no, maybe so, whatever that answer is, be like, hey, if we were able to refinance that solution that you currently have into something that's actually going to be paying you $2,000 to $3,000 more a year, do you think that would be helpful? most people will be like, yeah, it's more money. It's going to be helpful, right? But we don't know that until we can actually take a look under the hood. So bringing in actual financial statements that can outline that information, because we have a bunch of tools and resources that help us identify ways to improve someone's cash flow situation.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before as well, Lance, that many people are coming in with advisors and they're watching this program. We appreciate you watching this program. Many of you very faithfully for a long period of time and saying, I continue to learn things on these programs, and at some point I'm going to call. I know you hear people walk into the office go, I've been watching your program now for a long time. I finally made the phone call. Why is it different when they have an advisor who isn't talking about refinancing? Let's do what we do. Let's put our money in the market. Let's let it go. You're good. And the question is from a lot of people asking their advisors, am I okay? Yep, you're okay. and that's the extent of the conversation.
Yeah.
Why is it important to go beyond that?
Yeah, well, just kind of going back to people watching the show week after week, I actually had a couple. I don't know if we've talked about the story before, but it's rather amusing, so I'm going to share it. So the husband was watching the show, has been watching the show for like 3 years. And he would get in, get his coffee, watch the show, sit down and write a bunch of notes. And then the wife would come a little later. She'd sit down and have breakfast. And he'd talk about all the stuff that he'd learned in the show. You're not going to believe what I learned today. All excited, right? And this is going on, Brad, literally for years. Okay, first year went by, second year went by, third year. Finally, the wife says, okay, where's the number? And he's like, the number for what? The number for the show.
Yeah.
So she called in, set up an appointment. After 3 years.
I'm getting tired of listening to him say, I've learned all of this stuff, but we're not implementing it.
Right,
yet.
exactly. So they both came in together and told me that story. It was hilarious. But yeah, now they're clients. But yeah, no, it's just an important thing is your advisor talking to you about this stuff. If you have an old 401k where you started like 20 years ago and they've been managing that for you for whatever reason, well, when you started in that process 20 years ago, your risk level was probably off the charts because you were like, yeah, I want to make as much money as I can. While I can accumulate, while we're going to make hay, the sun's shining, let's do it.
Yeah.
But now, as we're getting ready to retire, do we really want to be this high on the risk scale? And how do we know where we are? If we just go in and we say, how are we doing? And they say, well, it looks good. Well, yeah, it might look, the numbers may look good, but your risk may be off the charts.
Yeah.
That's just one of the aspects we talk about in terms of refinancing your entire portfolio and your retirement. Because maybe we need to make some adjustments on your risk for your 401k. Maybe we need to talk about doing some Roth conversions while we can. Maybe we need to talk about contributing more to your Roth since the company just introduced that within the past few years. Is anybody talking to you about this stuff?
Yeah. And maybe you need to be in that mode that is so different than the accumulation mode. It is asset preservation mode. How do I keep what's mine? Let's talk a little bit more about that when we return. But before then, you having a cup of coffee? Have you been watching for several years? Is there somebody next to you that's going, where's the number? Here it is, 877-241-7430. And maybe it's you coming in together as a couple to say, I don't understand any of this. He's been doing all of it. Or she's been doing all of it. And now we need to figure out how to do it together because it's confusing and it's different. And I would like to make sure my money lasts until my last breath. Is that you? 877-241-7430. Be right back.
Our team at Northern Alliance is very diverse in terms of the services that we offer.
We do take a team-based approach.
We carry multiple licenses so that clients can do everything within the Northern Alliance financial team.
If it has anything to do with retirement, that's what we specialize in.
Budget planning, tax considerations, Social Security strategies, risk management, long-term care, Medicare, health planning, as well as legal and estate planning.
We really are a one-stop shop.
There's Lance Lance, Gilman, Peter Hansen, Jeremy Barnard, myself, we do have a staff that is great.
In Maine, we have multiple locations to cover the vast array of the state.
You know, you can come in and have a conversation in person. And a lot of people are looking for these days. Things after COVID have changed to more Zoom, phone call sort of things. And we'll do those things, but we appreciate and would rather have you come in person and have a conversation face to face like this.
We're pretty approachable, and we're going to listen to you. We're going to try to determine what your needs, your aspirations, those goals are, and then we're going to do everything that we possibly can to help you meet those goals.
It's lighthearted, it's carefree. We laugh like crazy. An atmosphere that I don't think is common in a lot of other practices.
We were talking about how well the team is bonding together, how similarly we all think in that what we do, we want to actually make a difference.
Average everyday people helping average everyday people.
You know, we truly do put the client first.
Our mantra has been, when you take care of people, people take care of you.
Glad you're with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansen with Lance and Blake, Northern Alliance Financial, and we're talking about refinancing your retirement, which may sound foreign to a lot of people, but it is adjusting to the current economic times. Let's go into that four-letter word for a lot of you, annuities. It is, oh yeah, I've heard about these things. This is kind of in the refinance question when I said, all right, we're moving into asset preservation. How did annuities get such a bad name for some people? And you may ask them, so what's so bad about them? I don't know. I just heard they're bad. What's bad about annuities? What got them into this spot? And what is so different now about why they are such a, and we talk about better solutions for people in asset preservation, Blake?
So probably the biggest thing that makes annuities have a bad rap is lack of understanding of them. What a lot of people actually don't realize is that Social Security is an annuity.
Yep.
Your
Pensions.
pension is an annuity.
An annuity.
Right? So we have it as a tool in our tool belt. And those annuities, it's a tool in the tool belt, but they can be used in a multitude of fashions, right? You have growth-focused annuities, and then you have pension-focused annuities. A lot of people actually find value in the pension-focused annuity because all they're essentially doing is moving it from one pocket to the other and getting a guaranteed lifetime income payment for as long as they live. And that could be as long as they live or as long as them and their spouses live.
If it's a joint.
If it's a joint payout structure, right. And so in the refinancing world, what I have actually found is a lot of individuals who had some old pension annuities. They were based off of old interest rates, so the payout factor was significantly lower. Now, when we're in a much higher interest rate environment, more recently, I have actually been able to get clients out of low-paying pension annuities into new, higher-paying pension annuities for them and their spouse for the rest of their lives. And that is just a simple thing that anytime a client comes into our doors, or even a prospect, whatever it may be, my job is to continuously find ways to improve your situation. And if it's a matter of getting out of something that's old with a low payment into something that's new with a higher payment, I'm going to advise that, right? Because it's going to provide you much more cash flow for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that these annuities change all the time, Brad. Whoever the servicing company is that's underwriting the annuity, they have actuarials and they run the numbers on these things all the time. And they change them all the time. So if you're in an older annuity chassis and you're looking at, well, how have I done over time? And it's just deplorable. Well, that goes back to what Blake was just saying. Well, maybe it was written in a lower interest rate environment and now the interest rates have risen. So maybe it's time to look at something like that to simply say, does it make sense to refinance this, put you into something better, and that's going to pay you better or pay you better income or pay you better accumulation? Better is typically better, Brad.
I'm with you on that. Well,
so the point is, if you've got something, you've got some old annuity, and you're not really sure how it's doing or how it compares to the new interest rate environment, the new products that are out there, just come in. Let's have a conversation. Let's do a side-by-side and see if we can put you into something better.
I think variable annuities got a bad name as well because the costs were high
Oh yeah,
and continue to be so.
sure.
I know you've seen people come in and say, well, this is what I was told to be in. And yet when you talk about, and we've done this in previous programs, talk about the hidden costs
Yeah.
inside some of the products, it takes so much more growth to be able to make up for the price that you're paying for something that puts you in a higher risk level for something that you don't want to be in as your runway starts to shorten.
Right.
I want to get out of the market risk, and yet I'm putting myself into something that is still creating market risk when it's supposed to be my safe bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one specific example that I found super fascinating is I had a client, they came in with a variable annuity, right? And I took a look under the hood. I was looking at their variable annuity, and I was able to identify that the investments that they were in weren't really working as hard as they should, okay? Then they have a 1% mortality and expense fee, which is just an ongoing service fee. Then they have mutual fund costs, but then what they also had on there was an income rider. And this income rider also comes at an additional 1+%. And so they came in frustrated with a lack of performance inside of their variable annuity. They're like, it's in the market, but it's really not growing. And so when I took a look under the hood, I was like, oh, well, you have almost 3.4% in annual fees and your rate of return is 5. Guess what you're netting? 1.6%.
You're not even keeping up with inflation.
Yeah. And then they're like, well, what's this income rider? I had no idea that I had it. What is this all about? I was just trying to make my money grow. And it's just like, well, this is how it works. And they're like, well, that's not appropriate for me. So we were able to get them out of that variable annuity riddled with fees into something with no fee whatsoever, completely protected from market losses, and is going to provide them with a better cash flow.
Yeah, I've seen one of the things that we typically get excited when we see variable annuities. And you say, well, why would you get excited about seeing a variable annuity? Well, number one, because most of the time we can typically put our clients in, or a prospect that has one of these variable products with exorbitant fees and low performance into something better, Brad. So we do not even deal with at all. We would never put a client into a variable annuity. Why? Because variable means what? You can gain and you can also what? Lose. And the fees are exorbitant. Well, if you can gain and you can lose, why aren't you just in an index fund with the market? Why would you pay someone 3.75 to 5.75% to gain and lose? It doesn't make sense. So we get excited when we see variable annuities because almost invariably, Brad, we can put you into a better position. So if you have these old accounts, if you have variable annuity, if you don't even know what kind of an annuity you have, call us. Let's see if we can put you into something better.
This is what people hear, and I want to do this before we go to break, a zero floor strategy. And people will say, well, I'm in one of those zero floor strategies with a variable annuity. No, you're not. The idea is asset preservation to put something in. You've said it multiple times, better is better. Maybe it's time for a second opinion for a lot of these people just to say, I'm not quite sure what I have. Is it easy enough to walk in and say, I'm with someone, but I'm not sure they've given me what I need, just like the example that you just gave, to put them into an idea of saying, you know what, if you have what you need, I'll tell you that as well. But there might be something here because we need to refinance this that could benefit you for a lot of years to come.
It's part of our daily job and as a fiduciary, right? Like for me personally, I'm not going to go out and buy a variable annuity. That's not appropriate for me and where I am in my life. And I don't like a lot of fees. And there are also what's known as buffered variable annuities where they're like, hey, your buffer is 20%. So that means we'll protect you up to 20%. But if your index exceeds a 20% loss, guess what? You're dollar for dollar loss on that. right? So it's been presented as like, oh, this will grow. You've got a 20% loss buffer, but they're like, so it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. And so I tell clients, I was like, well, just so you know, this isn't technically safe. This could lose plus 20%. Would you rather go into something not subject to market losses whatsoever?
Yeah.
They're like, well, I thought that's what I was in. Well, technically you're not. So let's shift the focus of that and get you in a place that you are specifically, intentionally trying to be in.
Sometimes it's just explaining what you have. Maybe you've been told and sold, and you don't really know what's in the product or the potential solution that it was supposed to be. Maybe it is time for a second opinion. It costs you nothing for a complimentary written financial plan if you make the call to 877-241-7430. Maybe you've been in an annuity that hasn't performed well. Maybe there are some things that are better, but you don't know because what you've been sold, you don't know what you're in. How about getting a second opinion for free? 877-241-7430. Let's make it better for you. We'll be right back.
Do you own an annuity? Are you aware of what type of annuity you own? For years, annuities have been a cornerstone of retirement planning, but they're not all created equal, and your current annuity may not be serving your retirement goals as planned. The good news is that rising interest rates could mean better guarantees and better benefits for you. In short, and in a lot of cases, could mean more income. Is your annuity up to date with the new market conditions? See if your old annuity measures up. Call now for your complimentary annuity review.
Glad you're with us on Conquering Retirement. Brad Johansen with Lance and Blake, Northern Alliance Financial. We just finished talking safe money, asset preservation money. I want to make sure that we cover refinancing your retirement and making it better is better. And I know you have some thoughts on moving into understanding how our plan can create something better for us. Lead me into that.
Yeah, I think it's just important to, number one, to have a plan. So the power of a plan can't really be overemphasized. And a lot of people just don't have any kind of plan at all. They've got their statements. Well, here's my variable annuity and here's my statement. Well, that's not a plan, Brad. These are your statements. And these may need to be looked at because they may not be the best for you. So that's why when we look at things like your income, your budget, your Social Security, your portfolio management, your long-term care risk management, estate planning, and your Medicare, whether we put that all together, now that's a comprehensive plan, Brad. And there may be aspects of each one of those things that need to be looked at. When's the last time you looked at the beneficiaries in your estate plan or your will? I mean, I had, unfortunately, a situation where somebody called in for the show and whose brother passed and did not have a will. And so she was the only heir. So it has to go through the probate process because there's no beneficiaries because there's no will.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to put, now this sister who's trying to do the right thing, there's no will for her brother. She's got to petition the probate court so that she could be the executor and then figure everything out. In the meantime, he just bought a new truck. So she's getting letters from the bank saying, hey, where's our payment for this truck? Well, she didn't buy the truck, but she can't do anything about it, Brad. So refinancing, relooking the whole picture, not just the portfolio, not just the old annuities, not just the income, not just the budget, but everything.
Yeah.
It's a tune-up. It's like I was saying in the beginning, it's like you get a tune-up on your car. Well, why don't you get a tune-up on your retirement plan with somebody as a fiduciary that's going to put things in front of you that even what is recommended has to be in your best interest?
Well, you talk about having to go to probate and petition. You talk about the time factor of something that's not put together in a plan to deal with the courts. Let's talk about the time factor of some of these solutions, Blake. We haven't even gotten to medical. the people over 65, there's now a new number that will say an average 65-year-old couple will spend $300,000 in long-term care. And yet some of these asset preservation models, even in the annuities, are Swiss Army knives that not only protect your money, but may provide for long-term care down the road for you.
Yes. So a solution that we like to use a lot inside of our office is called a hybrid policy, right? The old method of long-term care is pay into it, and if you go into care, you've got a benefit. If you don't go into care, all those premiums you paid go to the insurance company. Well, now the refi or revamp or restructure, however you want to talk about it, there's new hybrid solutions that are continuously being improved over time to where you can put money into a long-term care life insurance type contract. And then heaven forbid, if you go into care, it's going to pay a tax-free benefit for long-term care purposes. Heaven forbid you don't go into care and you have a peaceful life, then that's going to provide a death benefit tax-free to your inheritors. So it's being about a lot more intentional with your money surrounding the long-term care space rather than just getting the traditional long-term care products that, you know, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And so that's what's unique about the environment in which we're in on the refi and the revamp is all of these companies are trying to find additional ways to continuously improve their consumers' lives, right? And staying up to date with the tax codes and the benefits of qualified long-term care contracts to basic annuity contracts. You know, there's all those different types of solutions out there, but it's important for you to identify what's most important to you and communicate that with us, right? And then we'll try to find the best solution for you.
And that is looking ahead. As Lance said, it's putting together a plan. It's not your statements. It's not your portfolio. It is a holistic plan. Have you thought about your asset preservation? Have you thought about the potential tax problems that you may face? Have you thought about long-term care? And have you thought about your legacy as to where you want your money to go? You certainly don't want it to go to Uncle Sam. So let's put together a holistic plan that makes sense for you in all of these areas. It's time for you to call 877-241-7430 to have experts who've been doing it for decades to say, let's put together a plan that works for you. It's complimentary. Thanks so much for spending time with us because we know your time is crucial. So stop wasting any more time. Make the phone call. We'll see you in the office for a complimentary written financial plan and right back here next time on Conquering Retirement.